I am Jeff Foxworthy, and welcome to Gamekeeper Podcast. If you want to learn more about farming for wildlife and habitat management, then, buddy, you are in the right place. Join the Gamekeeper crew direct from Mossy Oak Land Enhancement Studio as they discuss the latest wildlife and habitat management practices, news, and, of course, hunting. There's no telling what you'll learn, but I'm going to tell you, I bet it's interesting. Enjoy.
We're live in 3, 2, 1.
Okay, everybody, here we are once again. West Point, Mississippi, the Mossy Oak Gamekeeper Studio.
Where are we?
We're
the home of Mossy Oak, right here.
We are?
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever done this anywhere else but right here. What episode is this, Mac? Do you know? I think it might be 172 or 3.
We've done this that many times.
Isn't that's amazing. It really is.
You think we'd run out of stuff to talk about?
Not this great.
Not yet.
Oh, mate.
Not yet.
Toxie, you missed the snakes yesterday.
Doggone it.
He's pretty strategic, you know.
That guy.
I literally could not yesterday.
It's going to be 176.
176.
We missed 175, and we were supposed to give away the Browning shotgun on 175. So.
What are we going to give it away today?
No, let's just hang on to it and look at giving it away at 200.
Is that the shotgun that's in Mac's office?
Yeah, we're getting stuff out of Bobby's closet now.
Okay. Huh.
My closet is completely empty, so from now on it's coming out of. I think it all went to Bobby's closet anyway.
I noticed it's locked anyway.
Yeah, can't even get in there anymore.
Yeah, it's rough.
Cut a brother off.
So, look, when I look around the room, there's a lot going on. Toxie,
It is game keeping season, baby.
Yeah. Anybody hearing anything about army worms?
Yes.
I personally have not seen them, but I haven't. No crops have come up yet. My duck crops that usually infested. I have been watching them very close in clover. They wiped out a 15-acre field of clover, one of my prized possessions, last summer. Broke my heart, and just did it in days. I've been watching for that, but I have not seen them yet. I expect any time
one
an
of
explosion.
our number one gamekeepers sent some pictures of them, so they're around.
Oh, they're done.
Yeah.
Tom
found
Robertson.
some.
Yeah, big time. Well, little Tom.
It's like little bombs go off here and there, and just
So here it comes. So
Yeah.
be aware.
So
I know
guys,
they're in the yard because the wasps are all hovering over the grass in my yard. That's when they first start to break out.
Isn't it a little white moth
Yeah.
that lays the eggs? Yeah.
So if anybody wants to learn about, might be having armyworm issues, you remember on episode number 49, we had a guy from Mississippi State, Angus.
Oh yeah.
Who was just did a fantastic job explaining armyworms.
Yeah, and there's two
Right.
and there's two types.
Mm-hmm.
And the corn armyworm, which is not as common as the southern grass, I guess armyworm, but southern armyworm. But that corn armyworm was the one that was wiping out like cotton and beans and all kind of stuff, and like 7 and all that wouldn't phase them. Right? Isn't that right, Dudley? I'll go by. You double correct me on that. It was the year that they.
I think it was Befenthrin they were saying that they were resistant
I think-
or something. I can't remember.
I thought that stuff killed everything.
No, not those. They said that's what people weren't having success with them. So I don't know. I haven't heard about those. I don't know the difference in the two. I just know when they're really bad. And this time of year, if you've got something tender, you better go check it at least. Depending on how tall it is. If it's in the small stage, you better check it every day or two.
Mm-hmm.
Best thing was Bernie retired from Mississippi State. Our good buddy. Bernie White gave us one of those entomology nets that are white canvas.
Mm-hmm.
It's the best thing in
You just
the
go
world.
there and swoop
Get
it over
you
the
a
top of
white.
it.
You got to get just a white piece of cloth net, and you can just scrape it through the grass or whatever you're worried about, and if they're there, you'll see them all on. And you can see them when they're teeny, like a quarter inch, and little, almost invisible, but you can see them on that white net way before they break out bad.
You know, you mentioned that. Those little nets would be cool for any gamekeeper. You could go out to your fields and your pastures and see
some
what kind of
seed.
bugs are out
Yeah,
there.
that's true.
Catch a butterfly or two.
Yeah.
Yeah, my dream thing is, Dudley,
Cicada.
to get I still have been looking, a wild seed harvester of some
Yes.
type, even if you just small amounts, rather than just clipping the heads of something,
Well, I'm sure
think
the
they make ones
Roundstone
like
people or Kyle Liebarger or somebody would know where
Don't
we
they
Yeah.
make one on like a weed eater or something?
They
Like that?
do. I've seen that kind of catch it in a basket. I guess I need to get over the hump and just
just do it.
Commit.
it's one of those things you want to talk to somebody who's used one.
Right.
It's a good, it's kind of like we talk about who looks at advertising
Yeah.
As far as restaurants, I mean, you're going to call somebody and say, I've never been to whatever, San Antonio before. Where's a good place to eat? Same thing with one of those. I've never heard of anybody using one. I'm scared to spend that kind of money and it not work well.
We'll call our buddies at Roundstone. I'm sure they give us.
Oh, they do. Yes, they would know.
Yeah.
They're the best.
Anybody see any doves? Anybody got any?
Yeah.
doves?
We're seeing some doves.
I'm seeing doves,
I am
but they
too.
always see we see lots of doves.
Yeah,
until
and then
about the
till the season opens.
till about the 15th or 20th. But
Make
they're all
sure
over the
everybody's
place.
got my phone number. We'll just do that.
So we know what to
was that
avoid.
again? Let me give it, just so everybody knows, Bobby's phone number is.
So, Dudley, speaking of that, congratulations. You gave a couple of talks this week. I heard they went extremely well, especially the one at near Kosciuszko.
You had
that
some
was
guests come up.
that was a fun event.
Well, thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
That's good. We'll have to book you for more events.
Oh,
like that.
please.
Okay.
Preferably on the weekends.
Oh, yeah.
Mac, who is this episode brought to you by?
The hometown of Duke Traps.
Hometown heroes.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
right.
They make a great trout.
A great trap.
call-
And
Great folks.
business. Great
Great-
folks.
yep.
That's
Yeah.
right.
They're trapping dynasty. They're royalty.
Yes,
Oh,
they are.
I hear you.
Right here down the street, a couple blocks away.
Right here in Old Dirt Valley. That's
Yep.
right. Bottomland Boulevard.
Another interesting fact about West Point,
like that, don't
Mississippi is they used to make the flexible flyers. Like
Yeah.
it never snows here,
Yeah.
but we had
That's
a
why it's a good
flexible
place to
flyer
make-
plant in
yeah.
town.
A big one too. Yeah.
For a long time.
Toxie, you remember that?
Oh yeah. Of course.
You remember that?
I don't remember that.
How do you not remember
well,
that?
I hadn't lived here all my life.
I
have
remember it.
lived here quite a while.
Blazon flexible flyer.
Flexible flyer.
You know that multiple bay huge building down here?
That says
Right across
flexible
from-
That
flyer
you always
on the-
want to
Does it still say flexible?
seed in?
Well,
Yeah.
it's been abandoned for like
Yeah.
10 or 15 years or
Yeah,
more.
I knew of it. I had.
Oh, okay. You're just playing dumb.
Well,
Okay.
I don't play dumb.
Oh, you just are dumb.
very well. So there's one other thing before we get down, a little business that we've got to take care of. The Outdoor Channel asked us to, there's a lot of people that may not have cable now, but there is an app, and I have actually got it because I don't have cable like I used to, but it's called Friendly TV.
Friendly
So
TV.
you can get the Outdoor Channel and the Sportsman's Channel at $6 a month, $6.99 a month, I think. So prior to our show coming on third quarter, I
You signed up.
downloaded the app, put it on our television. It's unbelievable. But listen to this. I can watch the Rockford Files. I love the Rockford Files. But let me tell you why this is perfect
What
for
is
us.
the Rockford Files?
So, Toxie, it's
He's
got
so
the
excited.
History Channel,
Y'all can't see him. He's so excited.
Magnum PI, all those old shows are on here.
yep.
Lanny, Skinwalker Ranch, that's a show you would watch. Conspiracy theories.
No, you would like that.
yeah.
It'd be worth it just for the Magnum PI.
Mac, there's a show called Sorority Secrets. You would love that
Oh,
show.
my.
I
No,
just know
Bobby
it.
would love that show.
Bobby would
Dudley,
love
the
that
Golden Girls.
The
are
Golden
on
Girls?
Friendly
Now,
TV.
I do like the Golden Girls.
So-
I'm going to have to go and tell you.
So you just got, for $6.99, you get the Outdoor Channel, but then you get all these other great
Wait a
channels.
minute. What the clincher would be? Do they have Bonanza?
They do, and Gunsmoke and Wagon Train.
Okay, I'm gonna.
Wow.
I'm gonna download
They
it.
have
I'm
They
doing
get-
it too.
If you got Bonanza, I'm in.
Mac, seriously though, they have Me TV and Saturday morning cartoons for Wilkes.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
You know the Rockford Files came out in 1974. Just throwing that
It's
date
one of
out
my
there.
favorite television.
What's it
shows.
about?
Jim, he's a
That's
private
that's
investigator.
offensive, Mac, to act like that's a long time ago to someone my age.
That was more towards Bobby.
Yeah, I loved that show. So, Richie, looking at you, there's a lot on there that you would enjoy as well.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Do they have any tractor body basic?
I mean, some DIYs, tractor, maybe
Tractor
some body
repair.
work. Yeah.
So you did bring the LS back.
I did. Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes, it's in the shop.
In the shop.
I was afraid of that.
All right, so turning our attention through the magic of the internet, we have a young man named Andy Orlando.
He's got a cool job.
Can we hit the horns for him?
Yeah.
So we learned about him through the Richie and some others were explaining when we did the
Cannon netting.
the helicopter
Yeah,
show
surveys.
with
Yeah.
pronghorns. All this guy was I don't know how to describe you other than a cowboy wrangler that you jump off the helicopter, but he had caught 10,000 critters.
That's a lot.
That is a lot, and we wanted to talk to you about that, Andy.
Here I am.
How
Yes,
in
sir.
the world do you what led you to be? And first off, kind of describe what do you call yourself?
I'm a net gunner, so I work for a private helicopter company, specializes in wildlife capture. And yeah, that's my job. I'm a net gunner. I sit in the front seat of the helicopter and fly over their backs, get about 15 feet off their backs, and I shoot a net, do either 12 by 12 or 15 by 15 foot nets, and get them tangled up and hop out of the helicopter, wrestle them out of the net, hobble them up, and process them, whatever the biologists need done. But yeah, just all winter long, pretty much start in October, go all the way through mid-March into March. Just one project after the next, 7 days a week. Any day we can fly, we're flying.
Wow.
So add one more guy to the Dos Equis commercial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I thought I had a cool job.
That is the most interesting story there.
Yeah.
Well, so what all kind of critters have you caught?
Oh, it'd be easier to list what I haven't caught, but anything that runs, we chase it. Mostly mule deer, some whitetails, a lot of elk, mountain goats, bighorn sheep, pronghorn, you name it. Anything in the West, we catch it.
So
haven't got my hand on many mountain lions.
That
Some mountain lion babies pulled some babies out of dens. So part of my other job too, I do that in the winter. It's my wintertime gig, and I work for different state agencies, mostly Colorado through the summer. So I get to get hands-on with a lot of different critters that way too. So.
Wow.
So most of your work is with agencies and biologists?
Yeah. My main gig, like I said, is with the private company, but that's all contracted by state agencies. So I'm working for state agencies, but me myself, I'm with the private company.
Cool. So how'd you get into cannon netting?
Well, I got a degree in wildlife biology. Since I've been a kid, I've always had it in me. I wanted to chase every animal I've ever seen, so it's just ingrained in me. But yeah, I got a degree in wildlife biology, and I started working wildlife tech jobs all over the West. Caught elk in Wyoming, tracked them through the summer, did a black bear job in New Mexico, worked a wolf job in Idaho and in Yellowstone. And then I finally started getting some actual hands-on and catching whitetails just on the ground, drop nets. And I was darting out of tree stands. So we'd put corn pile out, and I'd sit up there at night with a little thermal scope and dart them. And it's just like hunting. It was awesome. It's one of my favorite gigs, but I started to realize that I didn't want to be a biologist. So one thing led to another, and we're sitting around a campfire. I was working on a moose project in Colorado, sitting around a campfire, and a bunch of guys around. And I was saying that, that's just what I want to do. I want to have hands-on with animals and catch animals. And they said, well, if you just want to catch animals, you should be a mugger. I said, a mugger? What's a mugger? Never even heard of it before. I didn't even know helicopter capture was a thing, really. And so they started describing to me what a mugger was. And mugger's the guy that sits behind the net gunner in the helicopter. And so the net gunner will net one, and then the mugger will hop out, and that's all the mugger does, just process animals all day. And so we kind of leapfrog. The gunner will shoot one, the mugger will hop out, process that animal, then the gunner, which I am now, will go shoot another one, then I'll hop out and process him, then we'll go back, pick up the mugger. But anyway, yeah, we're sitting around the campfire and learned about a mugger and what a mugger does, and I was like, that sounds pretty awesome. And so the biologist I was working for said that, well, if you want to be a mugger, you need to talk to these people. They've been catching moose for me, and I know them pretty well. And so she put a word in for me, and I started pestering them. And it took me about 8 months of pestering them before I finally got on with them. But they called me. I was on a mule deer hunt in Wyoming, and they called me and said, "Can you be in Vegas next week, catch desert bighorn sheep?" And I said, "I'll be there."
Wow.
So been doing it since.
That's cool.
It sounds dangerous.
Beyond cool.
Well, yeah. He's hanging out of a
little,
helicopter.
That's why they contract the private companies, because it is dangerous. So none of the states will do it for themselves anymore. There's very, very few states. Alaska does their own. Idaho will do some of their easier jobs, and so will Arizona. But other than that, every state contracts it out because it's just too much of a liability to have their own employees up there.
Yeah.
So that provides the opportunity for me anyway.
I guess it's safe to say you're not afraid of heights.
It's kind of weird. When I'm in the helicopter, you can't even think about it. I get over it. I'm hanging out, I'm standing on the skid, hanging out, doesn't bother me at all. But about 2 years ago, I was floating the river back home with my family and went to jump off. It's just a 15-foot little ledge into the water, and I just could not make myself do it. I think I'm just so used to trying not to fall. I used to be able to jump off anything, no problem. But I'm so used to being in the mountains, wrestling sheep on a cliff face or something, trying to hang on and not to fall, that's just so in my head that I couldn't get myself to jump off that into the river.
Commit.
That makes sense.
And I couldn't do it.
100%.
Yeah.
So where'd you grow up, and where'd you go to school to become a wildlife biologist?
Grew up in Missouri. So grew up in the 90s. I just outside of St. Louis, but we have a family farm kind of dead center in the middle of the state, just northern end of the Ozarks. So yeah, I grew up there chasing turkeys. I started chasing turkeys when I was way too young. I was 6 years old chasing with a pellet gun.
Nice.
And it just took off from there. Got my blood. That was the 90s, the heyday of Missouri's turkey population, probably the best there's ever been anywhere. And that got in my blood from a young age. And so that kind of what fired it all up and started it all for me. Yeah, so went through high school, and all I did was hunt every weekend and out there chasing animals. And I decided I wanted to be a wildlife biologist just because wildlife was in the name. So I went to school in Missouri State, Springfield, Missouri, and got a degree in wildlife biology there. And then, yeah, it just all started snowballing from there. Just worked a long list of tech jobs till I finally landed in this position.
Nice.
Can you tell us about that first time you flew in the helicopter, the first time you jumped out and mugged something? I assume it was a bighorn if that was where you started.
Yeah, it was desert bighorn just outside of Vegas. And yeah, I remember lifting off the first time. We don't have any doors on the helicopter. So it was my first time ever in a helicopter too. And we pick up, and it was just almost surreal, just lifting straight up and taking off. And it was just like a surreal moment. Then we get out there and we go to capture, and it was like we were moving at super fast speed and slow motion at the same time. We're paralleling the sheep, and I don't even know what to expect out there, but we get on the sheep and we're paralleling it. We're above it on the hillside, and we always try to move them to a safe spot, but I don't know what we're doing at the time. And we're just right above it, paralleling it, and the sheep's right out my door. And a sheep running through sheep country is just amazing to see anyway. But we're paralleling it, and this thing's just flowing like mercury over the landscape, and we're paralleling it, and it's like we're moving 300 miles an hour and at slow motion at the same time. It was hard to describe, but that was my first ever animal capture. We pushed it down on this flat and netted it. It was just a ewe bighorn, but it was incredible. And that was 9 years ago now.
So when you're the new guy, do you have to worry about them pulling pranks on you or anything?
Yeah, probably should, but it wasn't too bad. I was with a pretty good crew to start off with there, and them guys were decent to me.
You probably have to be pretty serious when you're in a situation
hanging out of a
like
helicopter
that.
with
I don't think playing jokes on each other is part of the game, but
so
I don't know. If you were in the helicopter, it would be a different story.
Oh yeah. So I assume are you tethered in, or are you attached to it with a harness?
Yep. I got a lap belt that goes across me with carabiner hooks in over there. So, when we net them, shoot pretty quick, and then we flare up, come back around, and get back down on them. And it's maybe 5 seconds, 7 seconds by the time the net hits them until the time we get back on them. And so I have to be pretty quick getting out of the ship. So I'll just unbuckle quick, and I'll kind of be out on the skid as we're coming in. And then we get low. We don't really have to jump much. He gets pretty low. It's just a step off normally, but step off and then run over to the animal.
Of all the animals you handled, what would be, I guess, the hardest or the toughest one to handle?
The hardest, probably elk.
Mm-hmm.
They're just the right combination of strong and, I don't want to say mean, but they fight. And I'd say 8 out of 10 are pretty good. They're sweethearts, but you get the 2 out of 10 that want to fight you, and they're just strong enough. You can't really control them. We put 2 guys on an elk when we're catching them. So one guy gets on the head and holds the head down, and then I get on the back and I fish that back leg out of the net and hobble them back and front legs together. But they're strong enough. You can't, if an elk tries to kick, it's hard to hold on to. You can't really hold on to an elk kicking leg.
So you're not tranquilized them after you get down there?
Sometimes we will. It depends on the project. So a lot of times we'll just work stuff up right there on the spot. We'll do it ourselves, but then sometimes we'll bag them up and sticking an elk in a little bag is about as hard as it sounds too. So we'll hobble them up, put a blindfold on them, and roll them into a bag, tie the bag up, and then hook it to the bottom of the helicopter and send it back. And if they're doing like ultrasounds or some sort of testing that we can't do right there on the spot is when we'll do that. But it's a lot of times when we do that right before we send them, we'll give them just a mild sedation, just so that by the time that they're getting to the workup area, they're kind of chilling out a little bit and easier for them to handle. And then sometimes we'll dart elk too, especially with elk, bull elk or wolves. Those are my 2 favorite things to catch. But then, we just dart them and we sit there, hover around, wait for them to go down. About 5 minutes, they lay down, and it's just a piece of cake. Then you walk up and they're laying there sleeping. You work them up, and it's about as good as it gets to me. But yeah, netting them most of the time, we net them, we get down, we hobble them up, and we just work them up right there, and then we unhobble them, they run off.
I mean, you're not only doing a really cool job, most of the time you've got amazing scenery all around you. You're seeing mountains, and desert. And...
Absolutely. Yeah. Everywhere we go, it's gorgeous nonstop. And I'm always dropping pins and scouting too.
Oh, I
bet you are.
Yeah.
I know where one is.
Andy, did you just say that you had darted wolves?
Yeah. Yep. That's one of my favorite things to catch.
Oh wow! I imagine walking up on a wolf is pretty intense.
Dances with
Oh, my
wolves,
God, yeah.
literally dances with wolves.
Yeah.
Yeah. That my first one was a surreal experience too. So darted them from the helicopter, and the drug we use just immobilize them. It doesn't really knock them all the way out, just immobilize them. It was starting to get a little wobbly, but it wasn't going down. It got down into this timber. And like I said, this is my first wolf, so it was a pretty different experience already. But got down in this timber, and we couldn't get out of the timber. We couldn't get no shot on or anything. So he dropped me off. The pilot dropped me off at the top of this avalanche chute. I'm coming down this avalanche chute with snowshoes with the dart gun in my hand, going to sneak in. And he got below it so the wolf wouldn't run out below me out of this patch of timber. And he was able to start pushing the wolf up. And he gets on the radio. My pilot gets on the radio. So it says, he's coming at you. He's coming at you. So I just get down in this avalanche chute, and this wolf comes up, and he's coming through the timber. I'm trying to get a shot as he's coming across. And all of a sudden he gets just parallel with me, he turns and starts coming straight at me. I shot him at like 10 feet on the ground. He was coming straight at me down in the chest. And then this dart always acts real fast because I've already got a dose in him. But that second dart hit him, and he just staggered off across the avalanche chute and went down right there. And that was my first one. And then, yeah, like you guys said, walking up on a wolf that's just laying there after you just darted him, a live wolf, it's about as apex as it gets.
Yeah, I bet so. Pretty gnarly.
Man,
I'm just
Yeah.
Are you jealous, Bob?
Yeah, I am.
I think I can see you
How
kind of
many
green,
of
a
these
gamekeeper
jobs
green over there.
can there be? Andy, are
Well,
there?
yeah, but it's probably more than there are people like him to do them. That's, as my dad would say, that's a rare cat, son.
Yeah. Are there a half a dozen guys like you in the United States that do this, or more?
Probably a few more. There's about 4 or 5 big companies that specialize in the wildlife capture. We're the biggest. Most other crews have 1 helicopter running. Sometimes we'll have 3. Most of the times we have 2 crews running.
Hey,
But,
have
yeah,
you
we
ever done?
cover-
Here's one that warms my heart. I hate to sound cold-blooded about it, but have you ever done like pig annihilation?
No, I haven't. No.
They do have contractors that do it. I know, at least in Alabama, because they've called before and wanted to know if they could have permission. But they're paid by the state to depredate.
Yeah, I think Texas
wild
does
hogs.
too.
Yep.
Yeah, Texas does a lot of it.
From what you're
Done some
saying,
capture down in
you'd
Texas, but
be really good at it. It sounds like.
I bet I'd be good at it. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and that's not a
We have
that's
some-
not a dart gun. We shoot at those.
Yeah.
No.
So Andy, I'm looking over here. You met Richie. He was there filming the Pronghorn
Yep.
show. And Richie, what?
Yep.
You've got something you want to add?
Yeah, so there's a few things talking about, So yeah, I had the pleasure of meeting you on the Pronghorn project, but we've had opportunities to work on other projects where they're kept netting whitetails out of helicopters.
Mm-hmm.
And so, can you talk about the difference between, as you were mentioning, bagging the elk or bagging whitetail, but the difference between pronghorn and like whitetail, and you bagging them up, but not bagging pronghorn up?
Sure. Yeah, every project's different. Every species is different. So it just depends on what that particular biologist wants. We go from biologist to biologist all winter. So for that pronghorn project in particular, we didn't need to bag them up. Pronghorn are really high stressed, so it's important for them to be worked up quick and get them gone as quick as possible. So we hardly ever will bag a pronghorn up unless we're going to translocate them or something like that. If a state's, sending them from, one part of the state to the other, or a different state. Then we'll bag them up, but we'll normally give them a sedative or something. But on that Oklahoma project, yeah, the important thing was getting that collar on, getting some blood, and getting them gone. So trying to do it as fast as possible. And there's no faster way to do it than us just getting them out of the net, working them up, and letting them go. So a whitetail does a little bit better. They still are a high-strung animal, way more than mule deer. So a whitetail is important to get it worked up and get out quick. Mule deer will do a little bit better. They just don't have as much fight in them. They're not as aggressive by nature. So yeah, that's the main differences there. With the pronghorn, we use a little different capture technique because they run so fast, 55 miles an hour. They're flat out and they're running for their lives when we're on with the helicopter. So we either have to try to get them running up a hill, or we'll try to get in front of them, kind of slide in front of them and come. And then I'm sitting out there just waiting on them to make them move. I'm waiting on them to put the brakes on or try to juke and cut underneath us or something. So we try to catch them when they're not running flat out, because as you can imagine, running 55 miles an hour, they have to be light boned to move that fast anyway. So they're pretty fragile, and that net hits them and they tumble and they're easy to break. And
Wow.
that's one of the most important things to us is the animal welfare. So we really try to take care of them.
So I know a lot of this is just hand-eye coordination, just like whatever, shooting birds or whatever. If the helicopter is going the exact same speed as the animal, does it make it easier? Do you just aim pretty much at the front of the animal, or do you have to gauge if they're taking off faster than you or you're going faster than them? I mean, how does that work as far as it changes your aim?
There is a lot of angles at play, and you're right. If our speed's matching the animal speed, or we're just barely creeping up on them, catching up on them, and running a straight line behind them, that's the easiest shot we get. And we'll take a lot of shots that are crossing shots where they're coming from. So I'm on the right side of the helicopter. So if they're coming from the left side, across the bubble in front, we'll take a lot of shots like that. And it's actually a pretty good shot, but there's a lot of angles at play because as the helicopter's moving forward, when the net takes off, it's moving at the same speed of the helicopter.
Right.
So I have to shoot low. I have to aim low as it's coming across the front of the helicopter. And then I have to aim in front of it where it's going to be to lead it a little bit. So when it's coming across in front of us, I have to aim low and in front. And that's just one example. I mean, every different angle that the animal's moving is a different compensation. And you don't have time to think about it. As you can imagine, it's probably like hitting an MLB fastball. You don't have time to think about it. You just have to react to it.
It's got to be instinctive. There's not sights on the thing, are there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's just it's a big canister. You know, it's probably 8-inch by 8-inch canister. So when you're aiming it, you're pretty much covering up the whole area you want to hit. So you really can't even see.
Mm-hmm.
You
So
know,
is
the can's covering up.
Is this like a modified like gun, or is it
I got one pulled up right here.
specifically made?
Yeah, check it out. It's cool.
Yeah, it's a TC 308 pistol. So
What?
TC Encore.
Yeah, top
Yeah.
center.
Wow.
And
pistol?
Yeah, this one's a pistol grip. I'm looking at right
It's
here.
got a 12-inch barrel on it, and then we got a quick disconnect on the end of it, and the quick disconnect will clamp onto these cans I'm talking about. And so what it does is it's got a chamber on it. It distributes the pressure. So we shoot blanks out of it. It distributes the pressure from the blanks into 4 different barrels. And then the net has a weight on each corner. And so the net goes in the canister, and then each of those weights will go in a corner of the barrel. So then when the blank goes off, the pressure's distributed through that chamber into the 4 barrels, and it pushes the net out all at the same time.
I'm watching the video of one now. We need one of these, Bobby.
Well, when you're learning to do this, I assume that if you miss, then y'all got to fly back around and go pick up the net. I imagine there's some choice words spoken to you if you miss a few times.
Yeah, misses happen for sure every day, but yeah, it just takes repetition to get good at it. You know, it's not something I don't think anybody's going to be good at right off the bat. You know, the easy shots are easy for anybody, but then once you start getting those angles at play, it just takes repetition before you start getting it down. And then before you know it, you're not even thinking about it. You see it coming from this way or this way, and you know that the shot's going to be there and you need to lead it, and you just don't even have to think about it. It starts coming natural, but that takes, you know, thousands of shots before you get to that point.
So how many did you miss before did you catch your first one you shot at?
I think I missed the first one, and then I caught the next one, and then, you know, just started getting better and better the first day. I think by the end of the first day, I was probably 6 out of 10.
Hey, I'll take that all day, especially
I'm
dove hunting.
Right.
We could probably use one of those net guns.
I've got one on order.
Real
right here. Yeah.
I'm going to give dibs to your driver because I know if you have a great driver, it makes the shooting. I can just see, you know, you're talking about missing, but if Bobby, you know, if he wasn't comfortable with the shot, he just holds off, and then the guy makes another pass. And I'm sure if it's stuff in more open country, it takes a little pressure off, and you can wait for a better shot. And
exactly,
being rushed.
That's what they did.
That's when Bobby misses all those turkeys when he gets rushed.
For sure.
And that's what they did too. They started me in Northwest Colorado, wide open country. So it takes a lot of the pressure off. And like you said, if the shot's not there, you turn around and try it again. So, yep.
Mac, you look like you got a question.
I'm just curious about how your job interview went for this one.
Yeah, this is a funny one, actually. So, like I said, I pestered them for months and months. And finally, they got a hold of me. They're just kind of hard to get a hold of. They live up in Alaska, and they fish steelhead and hunt blacktail and Dall sheep all summer. And so they're hard to get a hold of anyway. And then finally they recognized that they needed me, so they finally got a hold of me and asked if I could be there in Vegas and whatever. But my actual interview was an email. She said, I don't know if I should be saying this or not, get him in trouble. She said, "How much do you weigh? How tall are you? Are you in good health? And are you single?"
There you go. You might make it.
I guess I answered all the questions right.
I don't see anything wrong with that. They're just
100%.
questions.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's Mike. That sounds like when you were back before you were married and you were dating. That sounds like some questions you probably would have asked.
Yeah, I guess so. Are you shooting open sights out of the helicopter?
There's on the dart guns.
Yeah.
Yeah, on a dart gun, I'll shoot an open sight most of the time. I do like a red dot on there, but you can't get much more reliable than the open sights. The only thing I don't really like about the open sights, I like to shoot with both eyes open, especially in the helicopter, so you can see what's coming, because everything's moving so fast. It's hard to keep everything lined up with the open sights for me, just because everything is moving so fast and I get my left eye involved. So I like to shoot a red dot, but most of the time it's open sights.
That makes sense. What's a cool project, like a relocation project or something that you really walked away and you're like, man, this is why I do what I do?
Well, there's a lot of them. The wolf project. So a few years ago now, I guess I caught the first ever wolf in Colorado. So that was a cool one. Yeah, just standing there over him, it was just a surreal moment there too, just thinking, this is as cool as it gets. I caught some caribou up in the Brooks Range in the Arctic Circle in Alaska, and that was a surreal moment too. Just being up there for one, but then getting to put hands on caribou. There's such a cool animal. Sheep, almost all the sheep projects are cool, just because sheep live in the awesomest places on earth, to begin with. And everywhere we go to catch sheep is just always fun. And they're such a docile animal, and they're fun to handle. So yeah, there's been a couple in Montana that have just been lifetime experiences. We got to catch them on Flathead Lake. There's an island out there called Wild Horse Island, and they kind of use that as their source population. They keep it disease free and clean, and they can use it as their source population. So there's these giant rams. I don't know if you guys saw it, but 6-7 years ago, it's where the world record deadhead was found. It's like 226 inches or something. It's a massive animal. So we see some giant sheep when we're out there catching those, and that's always a pretty epic experience.
You know what? Speaking of sheep, and Andy, you can help shed some light on this. But when you read about the old, like when Lewis and Clark went through. Yeah. Back in the day, I don't remember what year was that. Well, that was a long time ago.
Way back
when you were a child.
But they talk about seeing sheep, like these wild sheep, like what you're talking about them being low and being grazers and out there
out there in the plains.
Yeah, the plains animal. That's been things have really changed, haven't they?
Well, I think elk was a plains animal too.
It was, yeah.
Mm-hmm. We'll still see them, like in the Missouri River breaks in Montana. You come up out of the breaks and it's plains as far as you can see there, and they'll be out there in the plains. And then different places we go, you'll still see that, but it's pretty rare to see it anymore. Most of the time they're in your traditional, what we think of as sheep country, on the mountaintops up on the Alpines where we catch most of them. But yeah, once in a while we will still get to see them in the plains like that. It's pretty cool. In the Badlands in South Dakota, we caught them there last winter, and that's an awesome place to catch too. It's just, I don't know if you guys have been to the Badlands, but it's spectacular scenery just everywhere you look, and then the sheep just everywhere out there. And but it's just surrounded by plains, so get them off the Badlands and off the breaks, and then push them out in the plains and catch them, and it's a pretty cool one.
Man.
So what's the most common attachment that you put on them? Is it now GPS, everything?
Yeah.
There's an ear tag GPS, a collar GPS. Is everything
GPS
pretty much
collars.
a GPS these days?
It's going that way. Some projects will still use some VHF here and there, but you just can't get the data off the VHF that you can the GPS.
Right. I was just going to say, are you capturing things, putting a collar or whatever, a GPS indicator on them, and then going after and having to search down specific ones to recapture and get more data? Do you ever do that?
Sometimes we will. It depends on the project. Some projects will want to track the same individual throughout his life, so sometimes we will, but most of the time we're focusing on new individuals.
Right.
A lot of these GPS collars will last a few years now, so once you get them on the landscape, they just like to leave them out for a few years anyhow. And then once they quit working, most of them have a blow off mechanism. So when it gets low battery, or they can time it, say, okay, this battery's supposed to last 3 years. So in 2.5 years, we're going to drop it. So they can blow that collar off the animal and then go pick it up and refurbish it, put a new battery in it. So
The one thing we keep hitting, he keeps throwing out here is winter. You know, he's hanging out of the side of a helicopter.
I know what he's doing in the spring. I can see what's behind him.
Yeah. But I just realized, you know, when we met him on the Pronghorn project, the first day they weren't able to fly because it was a whiteout.
Oh, is that cold?
Yeah, it was because a blizzard came in.
Oh, was that when Owen had his sandals on?
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure a certain miles per hour, it's a no-go. You know, they don't, certain wind. I mean, you don't fly,
normally,
period.
Normally when it starts getting up to about 25 knots.
Yeah.
And it depends on the country too. If it's open country and flat terrain, that Oklahoma project, that's like tropical vacation for me. I always look forward to that Oklahoma project. I know it's cold that first day when you were there, Richie, but yeah, I always look forward to going down there because it is nice compared to Montana and Idaho and Colorado in February.
It wasn't just cold that first day for me. It was cold that whole trip for me.
So, Andy, based on the kind of following up to what Mac asked you there, is there one story that kind of stands out in your mind as something that you remember that so be worth telling us?
Yeah, I got a couple for you. So one isn't a helicopter story. I can still tell it for you if you want.
Okay, sure.
Probably my favorite helicopter story. We were darting moose on Isle Royale, just off the shore in Minnesota there. And one thing was cool. So it's one of the longest running wildlife research projects, and they're looking at the predator-prey relationship between moose and the gray wolves up there. And nobody had ever collared a moose before, so I got to be the first person to put hands on a moose on that project. So that was pretty cool. But we're up there and we're collaring moose, and everything's going pretty smooth. And we finish this one side of the island, fly over to the other side of the island. We stop back by the headquarters, and we always have, whenever we're using drugs like that in darting, we have a vet on staff, you know, and so I think it was the Minnesota State vet was there, and she loads me up some new darts, and we go out and we dart one, and it went fine. Everything went fine. We dart another one and wait 5-10 minutes, and it's not showing any signs. Normally they had been going down. So get over top of her, stick another dart in her. Nothing happens. 5-10 minutes go by, stick another dart in her. And then finally she starts getting a little woozy. And well, these darts were loaded with a tranquilizer and a sedative, like a muscle relaxer. And so she finally starts getting a little woozy. She goes up and she lays down in this little opening on this hill. We come in and we tow in, and me and the vet get out. And I can tell she's still with it. You know, she's got her ears pinned back and she's kind of side-eyeing us out the back of her corner of her eye there. And she's looking at us and start moving up on her. And you could tell she's getting more and more nervous as we're getting closer and closer. And the snow's deep. The snow's like belly button deep on me. And we're getting closer and closer. And I kind of reach up and touch her. And I could tell she lunges forward a little bit, but she's pretty well out of it. Lunge all at once and get on her back. And I'm holding her down. And she feels like she's pretty well out. You know, I feel like I got her under control. I get a blindfold on her, flip the blindfold shut, and the vet comes walking over. And the vet's wearing like ski pants, you know, like swishy noise when she's walking. She's coming over, she's getting closer and closer, and this moose is starting to rock back and forth. And finally it rocks enough and it gets its back legs under it. So now its back legs are under it. I'm on his back and it's like sloped down. You know, I've got my arms wrapped around its neck. I'm just holding it there. And I'm starting to laugh because I know that this thing's getting ready to get up. And she comes over and she's trying to hand me the collar, and I'm holding onto its neck, getting ready to fall off of its neck. And I was like, I can't take the collar. And she's laughing, I'm laughing. I said, if this thing takes off, you better get a picture of it. And no sooner do I say it, here we go. We're heading down the hill, and we have 2 spotter planes flying us. One's an old boy. He's been flying forever. He's an Alaskan bush pilot. And yeah, I think he was 85 years old or something at the time, but just cool guy as you can imagine. And I'm riding this moose down the hill. I got 2 fistfuls of mane. I'm trying to get the blindfold off because she's blindfolded. She can't see where she's going. And I'm riding her down the hill. And I hear this spotter plane pilot tell my helicopter pilot, go, you better get up here. Your boy's riding her down the hill.
Oh, man.
So riding her down the hill. And I look, and here comes a drop off, you know? So I'm trying to get this blindfold off as fast as I can. I can't do it. And she's heading right for this drop off. So I bail right at the last second. I fall off. And like I said, it's deep snow. So I'm trying to struggle my way out of the snow. I get up, I walk over to the cliff edge, and she's laying there at the bottom of the cliff edge. I say cliff, it's probably 15 foot but she had gone completely upside down, and all I could see is her feet sticking up, just all 4 feet kicking. She's completely upside down. I stood there and just contemplated every choice I've ever made in life for a second, and made my way down there, dug her head out so she could breathe, got that blindfold off and dug her out. The whole time I'm trying to dodge her kicking feet up top, but dug her out, pulled those darts out as fast as I could, and then rolled her up, and she just took off. And so come to find out, what happened was the vet had mistaken the bottle of actual drug, the tranquilizer, for the reversal that we give them when we're done.
Oh.
And so once you get one shot of reversal in them, no amount of tranquilizer is going to work, because the reversal is just going to cancel them out. But it was just the added muscle relaxer that was in there that had her loopy. But she got not loopy as soon as I got on her back, I guess.
Oh my gosh.
That's cool.
That is amazing.
I would have had to play a joke on the doctor for sure. Something, get them back for something.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty amazing. You said you might have 2 stories. That was so good. I'd love to hear another one.
All right. So this one, this wasn't a helicopter job, but one of my favorite jobs I've ever worked was up on Kodiak Island. This is back in 2015, and I was working on a brown bear and salmon escapement project. So we were quantifying the brown bear use of these salmon streams as the salmon were coming up. And one of the parts of the project, we called it the hill camp. We would hike from our base camp, and we're like 80 miles outside of town. I lived out there all summer for 6 months. It's just an incredible adventure the whole time. But we would hike from our base camp all the way up to this point. And from this point, it sat about 800, 900 foot above the river. And the river would span about 4 miles and then dump into this lake. So you can see the entire span of river. Part of our protocol was to stay, a mile off the stream, come into this little opening. It's 30 foot by 30 foot opening. And it's about 6 foot tall willows and alders all around. And all of a sudden I hear, it sounded like, I've been around a lot of bears and I've had a lot of bear encounters and experiences, but this one sounded like a cheesy out of the movies roar that I've never heard before. And I had a girl with me named Shelby, and I stopped and, obviously knew it was a bear roaring at us. And I stopped and looked, and I heard it again. And all of a sudden she come busting out of the alders about 100 yards uphill from us on a full sprint, straight at us as fast as she could. And instantly I was like, hey bear, yelling at her. And I said, Shelby, she's coming, get the bear spray. Shelby had a bear spray and I had a 12 gauge. So I started backing up to get Shelby by my side so we look bigger and Shelby could spray her. And as I do, there's these grass hummocks up there, everywhere you step there's nothing level on Kodiak. It's like a 2-foot grass hummock. I tripped over it. So I fell down, got on my knees, popped back up. And I'm wearing a pack too. We're packing our whole camp up there. Got 40 pounds on my back. I pop up, and by the time I pop up, she's already at 30 yards and she is coming. And she's just coming through these alders and willows. And every time she comes through one, I just see these big white claws just swiping, like she's just blindly swiping. So I jacked a shell into the 12 gauge and I drew a bead, and I couldn't shoot, it was just a wall of willows in front of me. I couldn't shoot until she got into the hole that we were in. And so I got a bead drawn, and as soon as she comes into that wall of willows, I just touched one off. And she was running on such a straight line. And I don't know how it happened, but I got lucky and I hit her right in the middle of the chest, and she comes sliding to a stop, but went in the middle of her chest and broke her down, hit her spine and broke her down. She comes sliding to a stop. I had to jump out of the way. She actually landed like right where I was. I had to jack another shell, and I shot her again in the neck. And she rolled down the hill, and I shot her again a third time. And I stood there and I held the gun on her for, I don't know, it seemed like forever, but it's probably 15, 20 seconds to make sure she was dead. And then I literally was in shock. I just dropped the gun and I was shook, I looked back and Shelby was already sobbing, crying. And it was a pretty scary situation.
Wow.
We went and we backed away. We got up on a high spot. She had two 3-year-old cubs with her, in their third summer. So they were big cubs too. We got up on a high spot where we can see everything around us, and because bears will cannibalize. They smell that blood, and there's so many bears in that area. And we sat there. We called the office on the sat phone, and I talked to the director, and she's like, well, you need to salvage the hide and the paws and the skull. And I was like, I've got a dull pocket knife and one more slug. I'm getting out of here. Send somebody else in with a sharper knife and some more bullets. We went back to camp, and we sat there, and Kodiak Island, just the weather's always unpredictable and it's always terrible. So we sat there for 3 days before they get somebody out in the float plane to us. And we went back in, and we took measurements of where I was standing and where the bear was and everything. She was 8 feet when I shot her on a full dead run at 8 feet when I shot that thing.
Wow.
That's closer than from me to Bobby.
That may be the best story anybody's ever told on the podcast.
That that reminds me of those old Field and Stream outdoor life.
Oh yeah,
the
little
cartoons in the
illustrations.
back.
Yeah.
This happened to me.
Yeah, that's
this
what it
happened to
was.
me.
That's exactly
That's
what
a-
it was.
That's a true story. It's on the front page of the Kodiak newspaper the next day.
12.
I was working for the refuge. I was the first person to shoot one since like I think it was 78 or 82, something like that. First person for the refuge to shoot one in self-defense.
Wow. Yeah.
And here's a crazy part of the story too. So I'm not affiliated with Brenneke slugs whatsoever. Never shot them before, never shot them after, but I'm a believer in them. The day before, we were in a 10-foot Zodiac boat, and it's a self-bailing little raft with a little 10-horse motor on it. And we were going up and down this lake checking our trail cams, and the lake was whitecapping, and it was just unavoidable. The whitecaps were coming over the side of the boat, and that shotgun was laying on the floor of the boat, submerged. I mean, I was dumping water out of the barrel, picking it up and dumping water out of the barrel. And I took all the shells out and dried them off best I could and everything. But you never think you're going to have to use that gun when you're up there. But that was on the 4th of July. I was dumping water out of the barrel. And on the 5th of July is when that happened. And all 3 of those slugs went off. And I'm so thankful for Brenneke.
Yeah.
I bet.
What an endorsement.
Yeah, for real.
Man, you're way cooler than any of us are.
Yeah.
Easily.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah,
Wow.
that was.
I don't know how we top that.
I was going to say, Bobby, where do you go from here?
No, I
Nowhere to go.
No. Richie.
The next place to go is turkey hunting.
Well, it is. That's the one thing I wanted to ask. But Richie, what a guest.
I know. I was going to ask him about, any crazy experiences because on the Whitetail project we were on in Texas, one of the gunners actually got impaled by an antler. And I was going to ask Andy about any stories, but he kind of led off with that one right there, and that kind of topped anything. So
I have been gored twice though. Yeah, once in the hand. I had a mule deer buck, and it was early on in my career, so it's part of a learning curve, I guess. But just had the net in his antlers, and he's running through this aspen regen, and every time he's coming past an aspen tree, the weight that's trailing behind him is wrapping around a tree, so it's kind of pulling on his head and slowing him down. I'm catching up with him, so I finally catch up, and I'm able to grab a hold of that net. And we catch all these mule deer in December in Colorado. That's when we catch most of the muleys. And so they're just coming off the rut, they rut a little later than whitetails. So they're just coming off the rut, and these big bucks are still jacked up on testosterone, and they think they're the kings of the mountain. And so I grab the net, and I just go to reel them back in. I pull on the net, and this son of a gun whips around. He looks at me, and he squares up with me and lowers his head and charges just like he would go to fight another buck, just lowers his head and just like 3 big strides. And all I could do was try to put my hands out and catch his rack. And I caught the main beam on his left side, but his right main beam, one of the tines went right through the middle of my palm, and he got me. I had a hold of him. I kept a hold of him. I twisted his rack and got him down. I laid on him, but the helicopter is still following me. They didn't want to leave until they knew that I had him, and they thought that I got gored in the guts. And he put a couple holes in my jacket, but he didn't get into my rib cage at all. And but yeah, my hand was so jacked up that I couldn't really use it, so I just laid there on them until they landed and came down and helped me hobble them up. But yeah, it didn't go completely through, but it went far enough. Went right in between my trigger finger and my middle finger bones, right there in my palm.
Ooh.
I mean, what do you say?
Andy, do you get insurance through your employer?
I was thinking about insurance.
I bet life
paid for
insurance won't touch you.
They paid for the stitches and the antibiotics.
There you go.
Oh my goodness! Prior to you telling these last 2 stories, I bet there were lots of young men that were listening, young people listening to this that wanted to be a mugger. But you just made it sound really serious right there.
It's not for the faint of heart.
No doubt.
Wow. So let me change the subject just a little bit. Toxic, he's a big turkey hunter. He's trying to kill
I saw that.
turkey in all 49 states. How many states have you knocked out?
40.
All right.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
I'm hoping to finish up 8 this next spring, and then spring of 2025 I'm gonna go to Hawaii and try to finish up in Hawaii.
Nice.
That's a lot of states, 40.
It is.
Yeah, you're making a lot of progress. Is there anything you need help with? One of our listeners might be listening. Any state?
Nevada. Nevada seems to be the missing piece of the puzzle.
Doc,
they only give out a
Never
couple non-resident tags,
Yep.
and then the landowner situation's getting hard to get a hold of too. So,
Wow.
yeah, they said that was a rough one.
Yeah. Well, I got faith in you. Anyway, you sound like you're one of these guys that just makes things happen.
I try to be the best I can anyway.
Wow.
Yeah. So one thing that this helicopter job provides me is some free time and some a little bit of leeway to do what I want the rest of the year. You know, mid-March, end of March, we're finishing up with the helicopter gig. So make decent money all winter doing it. Like I said, working 7 days a week and work hard all winter long, and I get to play all spring. So just
Can't
get
beat
the,
that.
I'm fortunate to get to travel and hunt turkeys in just about as many states as I can for a month and a half, 2 months.
Man, that's tough.
That's a tough one.
Well, if you get around Mississippi or Alabama, you need to hook us up. We'd like to go turkey hunting with you.
Yeah, Bobby and Lanny have
Absolutely.
a good place to take you.
Well, I'm thinking you may have a place, and we'll go with you somewhere.
What about your place, Dudley? I thought it was pretty good too.
Well,
no comment.
I'll take you to some public.
Yeah. So, Andy, but look, this has been a lot of fun. We were supposed to start this off at the beginning. We were going to try to do where Dudley asked you some questions to get to know you just a little bit better, and I totally forgot. It's my fault. But, Dudley, you want to try to do that now?
Yeah, happy to.
Rapid fire time.
Yeah. Delaney, who is this brought to you by?
By our buddies at Springfield Armory.
Yeah. Andy, have you ever fired any Springfield Armory pistols or rifles?
I don't believe I have.
Well, you're missing out.
Yeah.
That's that probably would have made life in Alaska a lot easier if you'd have had one, I would think.
Well, I do admit I was a little hungry when I wrote these questions, so be prepared.
A lot
for
of them
that.
going to be food related. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Are you ready?
Yes.
American or cheddar?
American.
Wheat or white?
White.
Milk, blue top or red top?
Red top.
Heath bar or Butterfinger?
That's a tough one. Butterfinger.
White meat or dark meat?
Dark meat.
Pancakes or waffles?
Pancakes.
Work hunt or hunt hunt?
Ooh. I'm going to have to go hunt.
All right. Deer or turkey?
Turkey.
Mule deer or whitetail?
Whitetail.
Duck hunt or goose hunt?
Duck.
Fish to eat or fish for sport?
Fish for sport.
Helicopter movies, Apocalypse Now or Black Hawk Down?
Black Hawk Down.
Nice. Good job.
Yeah, I think I fell right in with him 100%.
Yeah.
There we go.
We're a lot alike.
No
Yeah,
doubt about it.
I was all the way till the fish for eat, fish for.
Yeah,
'cause
definitely
I
fish
knew
to
Bobby's the trophy guy, so fish would be for a trophy for Bobby.
Well, he's been out west a while. He's probably catching those trout that they don't want you to keep.
They don't
all
really
the
taste
time.
that good.
Yeah,
anyways.
man,
They're not as good either.
Yeah, they don't taste as good. That's
fish.
For sure.
Laney's a fish for
I'm a
meat.
fish. I'm a everything for meat to eat. That's exactly right.
Yeah, I'm a fish for.
Oh, good stuff.
Well, Andy, I tell you what, you're like a really interesting guy. I'm glad you had time and we got to learn a little bit about how you make a living. It really sounds
It's amazing. His
a lot of fun.
his courage is admirable, so admirable.
Yeah,
No doubt.
it really is.
Yeah.
And look, and there's a team of guys, I'm sure that you all work together. I can hear you. I can imagine you guys talking, and it's such a team. But then these agencies that are doing this work, the fact that they
good
care
work.
enough and
That's right.
they're trying to improve things. It's just that's all very positive.
Yeah, I've mentioned it before, and most of the folks we interview, they've got a job that really makes a difference, and you're by far no exception to
Oh
that.
my gosh,
No
yes.
doubt about it.
I appreciate that. Yeah, conservation's a big thing to me. I'm a hunter at the core of me, and I realize that conservation is hunting, and hunting is conservation.
That's right.
And I've dedicated my life to it. It's important to me, and it's how I feel I can make the best impact on conservation at this moment anyway, as long as my body holds up and I can keep doing it.
There
But
you go.
yeah, I feel like somebody's got to do it, and nobody better than me.
That's right.
Who does he remind you of? Who is it?
Jordan.
Jordan. I was
Yeah.
going to say Joe White.
It sounds Joe White. I was
Joe
gonna say,
White.
Yeah.
who grew
And
up
that's-
right
Or
down-
or Pendergrass.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah,
I did
But
get a Pendergrass.
I got a
flavor.
Pendergrass.
I kept
and
thinking
Joe.
about Joe White.
I did too.
Mighty Joe White, by the way, and he grew up right down the street
Same,
from.
I think same place. Yeah,
that's
sure
right.
did. And I think Pendergrass did too, didn't he?
Yeah, he's from Missouri too.
Yep.
Missouri.
How about that?
Those Missouri turkey guys.
His
Y'all kind of
temper-
look the same. Yeah.
His temperament reminds
Yeah.
me of Jordan. He's kind of upbeat,
Oh yeah.
hyper.
No.
Oh, he ain't near as hyper as Jordan, cuz.
So look, Andy, there's one thing we want to have one more little bit of fun with you. Max got a trivia question for you, and if you get this trivia question right, one of our listeners who left a review gets a prize.
All right.
Who we playing for?
All right, we're playing for JW Brandon 34, who left us a review, and the prize is a Moultrie feed station.
Oh yeah,
Just
right.
in time.
just in time.
Put some of
This
that
question
Southern States corn in.
should be right in your wheelhouse. What is the largest living land mammal in North America?
That's a moose. It's one of my favorite things to catch.
What do you think's a little bigger than a moose?
In North America?
Yes.
We did not mention it, I don't think, but
If you've netted one of these things, might weigh the helicopter down.
You tell me.
The American bison.
Oh, how did I
Oh,
miss that?
shoot.
Yeah.
But moose was number 2.
Yeah.
And then it's
I actually haven't caught any bison, to be honest with you. It's one of
Yeah,
the
you-
things I haven't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
so
wouldn't,
what's
they
a-
wouldn't be that hard to get up on and dart.
What's a bison weigh?
the large average is 2,600 pounds.
Okay.
Moose is 15, polar bears 1540, Kodiak bears 1320, and the Roosevelt elk is 1,200.
1,300-pound bear.
Well, doggone it. We're going to have
That's
to
all right.
hold
We're
on
still
to
going
that.
to give the prize away. What are you talking about?
Yeah, we always do. So,
Bobby's going to hold on to
yeah,
it. Yeah.
y'all get with us there, and we'll
We'll
send
get
you the
Mo make it
prize.
happen.
Well,
we'll just send you a bill for it.
what else have we got? Is there anything else to ask him?
I'm
what
kind of
else?
jealous. I want to go ride with him, you know?
I'll probably stay on the ground and I'll be on that team that drives up in a truck.
So,
or
Richie, you actually flew with him, huh?
No, Owen flew with them.
Owen
actually.
flew with him, yeah.
So, yeah, we the last day there, Owen was flew with them and got some
In
footage.
his flip-flops.
So
Yeah.
we talked about turkeys in states. How many states have you worked in?
Every western state, Kansas,
Wow.
Oklahoma, west of there. So
Too many trees around here.
then
You know, I was
I
just
would guess
thinking.
probably half the country, 25 maybe.
Wow. So the logistics part is you're gonna get a job and you're gonna work out of a certain area. You just take a plane ride or drive your truck to go to that location and work out of there. Or do they come pick you up, or how's the logistics
So
part
we-
work?
We have a base in Colorado Springs. So we meet there. That's where we keep all our gear, hanging the helicopters there.
Okay.
And then we run a fuel truck. It's just a 3/4 ton truck, and it's got fuel tanks in the back. And so it pretty much chases the helicopter everywhere. And we pull a trailer behind it, keep all the gear in it.
Wow.
And we
Wow.
just drive project to project, and the helicopter will fly project to project, and we drive and chase it, and hotels every night, restaurants every night. It's like vacation at first, but then it gets kind of old,
Yeah, I could wear on you,
Doing
I'm sure.
hotels and eating restaurants every night.
I bet you
Yeah,
look forward to
on the
turkey season.
road for. Yeah,
What's-
exactly.
What's the range of the helicopter? How far do they fly before they refuel typically?
If they're just flying straight and level, just ferrying one place to another, you can make it 3.5, 4 hours.
Wow.
And they're flying 130, 140 knots. So
Wow.
whatever that is, 500 miles or so.
Nice.
So fast. I'm just curious about because you've been around so many places, and how do you move that around and so forth? That's
Right.
fascinating.
Dudley, weren't you curious
Yes.
as to which direction the rotor blade spun?
I was. Do you know?
They spin. So if I'm sitting there, they're spinning this way. So coming from right to left, if you're underneath them.
Counterclockwise.
Counterclockwise.
So yeah, counterclockwise.
Okay. I wonder if they spin different if you're on the other hemisphere.
No.
They spin whatever way that motor sends
Yeah,
them.
that's right.
Yeah.
It's a motor.
So Andy, we'd love to meet you sometime. If you ever
Yeah.
get in this part of the
Yeah,
world,
absolutely.
please come by and see
We'll
us.
hand
You
grab a
bet.
pig or something.
I'd be
you know,
honored
maybe
to.
that'll get him there.
let you jump out on an alligator.
Yeah, catch a pig or an alligator.
We could take him offshore and catch some yellowfin tuna
Yeah, I'm in on that.
out of the
man.
helicopter.
I don't know about the helicopter. We'll take a boat.
It'd be a blast.
Yeah, we'll take a boat.
Mac, you got anything else to ask him?
No, it was very interesting though.
Yeah,
Fascinating.
Yeah,
cool
it was.
stuff.
Hey, and it's kind of like, again, I've said this a couple times, but thank you for your service. I feel
Yeah.
like someone like
Hey,
you would
I
need to say
appreciate it.
that, just like we would, our military and so forth. We appreciate it so
Yeah,
much.
wildlife is very precious to us.
Yes.
Thank you guys. I appreciate that.
So, Andy, are you single?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Man, I got a great girlfriend, but
You must
not
have.
married yet.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Does she turkey hunt?
She turkey hunts. She hunts everything. Yeah.
Nice.
She's a biologist too.
Oh, cool. Well, it might work out then.
Yeah. I'll tell you, he sounds like he's got a great life.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Just be careful.
Yeah, stay
Yes, sir.
strapped in. That's true.
Yeah. Well, look, we enjoyed it, and thank you for being here with us. And I don't think he does any social media because I asked him, so he.
I don't blame him.
Yeah, he's
I don't either.
pretty low
I
key.
don't either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lanny.
There's-
Lanny doesn't.
Lanny doesn't, but you've got an alias out there, so.
I got to keep track of you.
Don't say that.
All right, Andy. Andy Orlando. He's a helicopter wrangler, jumps out, nets things, mugs things, just all around interesting
Bears,
guy.
mooses.
I'm clapping
wolves.
here.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yes.
Yep. And we're gonna send you a little. Look, we're gonna get you some turkey hunt stuff and send it up there to you. So
There we go.
maybe we can push
Awesome.
you
I
through the
appreciate it.
49.
There you go.
That we
Bottom
can
land's
do.
my color.
There it is.
I hear
Everything's
you.
better than bottom land.
Man after my own heart.
Guys, did y'all? What Lanny? What'd you learn?
I mean, I wish I'd known about this when I was in wildlife school. I just over here begging Toxie for a job.
that fits his adventure.
Yeah, I mean, I probably
Mindset.
wouldn't have kids and be married right now, which I love my family. So, but super cool, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I just learned that there's some really cool jobs out there that I really didn't know about,
Yeah.
and this is probably the top.
Yeah.
I'm glad y'all are all broken up too much to do this now, or might lose one.
Yeah,
of you.
that's for real. I'm too old to start. Don't worry.
Toxie always talk about living your best life. This guy kind of wasn't happy with what he was doing and just kept asking and looking and asking and looking, and look what he found. It's impressive.
Oh, it's
Very-
incredible.
It's
That's-
very impressive.
Live
That's
your
one
best
thing
life.
that I've found and I've learned. It doesn't matter what you're passionate about, what you love to do. You
That's
stick
right.
with it and
That's right.
keep following your passion. You'll end up where you want to be.
That's right, 100%.
Yeah, that's good advice. I tell you what I learned is I can write down what I'm supposed to do and say at the beginning of the podcast, and I'm liable not to do that.
That's right.
I'm sorry, Dudley. We had talked
That's
about
all
you
right.
doing that at the beginning. So,
Oh well.
well, if nobody else has anything, I think we all have a bunch of stuff we need to be doing. But we sure appreciate everybody listening.
sir.
Andy, do you ever get to watch our television show?
Once in a while, I'll catch an episode here or there.
Well, that's
great.
good. We appreciate that. If you get a friendly app, you can watch it wherever you are.
All right.
All right.
Even
such
from the
a ham.
helicopter.
Keep that in mind.
Such a good salesman.
Yeah,
Yes,
we
you're killing
appreciate it.
it.
Well, why don't you say goodbye, Dudley?
Goodbye, Dudley.
Get us out of here, Richie.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Gamekeeper Podcast. And be sure to tune in again. Subscribe to Gamekeeper Farming for Wildlife magazine and don't miss the Mossy Oak Properties Fistful of Dirt podcast with my good buddy, Ronnie Cuz Strickland.